Hello, everyone. I would love to introduce you to one of my best friends in the world, Dr. Willie Underwood, today. I'm super excited to have him here with me and introduce him to all of you because it's just going to be a fantastic conversation. Willie and I were introduced about 6 years ago by a person that thought by putting Willie and I together, 1 and 1 could be bigger than 2. And we have since chatted numerous times, turned it into weekly, monthly walks through the park where we just kind of come up with great ideas and have amazing conversations. And so I'm just super excited to introduce all of you to Willie today. So, and with that, Willie, could you just give us a quick background about yourself?
All right, so I'm Willie Underwood. I was raised in Gary, Indiana. I'm a clinician scientist, entrepreneur, and social change agent. So clinician scientist, I'm a physician and I do research, entrepreneur. I sit on the boards of several companies, a couple companies, and also have a company of my own, biotech company, and also social change agent. I've been involved in organized medicine, sits on boards there. Also tries to mentor people and help them develop them to help them make their dreams come true.
And I think that's a great segue into this jar that we have on the table in front of us, right? Named Grandma's Cookie Jar, came out of some interactive dialogue that we've had through the years, which really does have all of those things as the common thread. That ability to, take some of the best nuggets that we've learned and then basically riff on them and expand on them and ultimately turn them into, oh my goodnesses, man, it would be so great to share that. So, and that's really our introduction story. And that's really what Grandma's Cookie Jar and kind of this whole thing. Willie and I are going to do a couple episodes in this series and we'll see how far it goes. But our mission kind of through this is to help you create a life destiny for yourself, filled with all of these little different pieces of learning that we've had, and then tying in some of the best of what some other people have learned as well. So thank you very much, Willie, for sharing.
Awesome. So Matt, what do we have in Grandma's Cookie Jar today?
That's a great question, Willie. Let's see what Grandma's Cookie Jar has today. On the card is success leaves clues.
Ah, Tony Robbins quote. I actually love that quote.
Well, tell us a little bit more.
Right.
You got a story to share with us?
I got a story to share. So we know that Michael Jordan's high school basketball career did not start off being great, right? But he's often citing the adversity that he overcame in that as his number one pivotal piece of his success. So Michael Jordan started his high school career as a relatively unremarkable player. As a sophomore, Jordan tried out for the varsity basketball team, but did not make the cut. A moment that became the defining point of his life and career. Think about it. Later that evening, Jordan is in his room crying. He's really upset, but he resolves to work even harder. This becomes a source of his relentless motivation, and he promised himself to never let a coach overlook him again. Unmatched work ethic. That's what Jordan created, and the rest is history. Jordan decided to create his life dynasty.
That's a piece of the story that I'm not sure that I knew, Willie. I think, we know Jordan as a guy that went to North Carolina and, was playing basketball, and North Carolina won the national championship while it was there. And it was rumored that Dean Smith was the only guy that could keep Michael Jordan under 20 points. And then Jordan was drafted and he went on to have this amazing career with the Chicago Bulls. And we all know him as that person that really wants the ball at the end of the game, and that guy, hyper competitive in everything that he does. But the foundation story, that very first step, that's a piece that I don't know that we've heard before.
But it's the most important piece, as Michael Jordan even puts it, right? This point in your life where you basically say, this is what I'm going to create. This is what I'm going to do. And then you start the process of making that a reality, right? through our success, right? You're an engineer, right, Matt? You're an engineer.
Correct.
Right? At a certain point, you had to say, hey, I want to be an engineer. And what do I need to do to be an engineer? And then guess what? Once you said to become an engineer, you had to make a choice whether or not you're going to be a mediocre engineer or a great engineer, right? Were you going to change the world, change things, create things, be impressive in your life as a parent, as a father, as a husband, as an engineer, or not, right? So at a certain point, you got to make that decision.
So true. Thank you for the comparison to Michael Jordan. I don't know that I would compare myself as an engineer to Michael Jordan as a basketball player, but the idea is really kind of critical in there. And then I think the other really big piece that really resonates with me is I think part of that story is also later in life, Michael Jordan actually credits his high school basketball coach who cut him as the most important thing that happened in his life. If he wasn't cut as a sophomore on the basketball team, we might not have known Michael Jordan, the Michael Jordan that we know today. And that's another interesting piece in this, which is he actually had to go through this pain. And it was out of that pain that the resolution, the idea that I will never, ever be cut from another basketball team, and I will do whatever it takes to be that person, really was that inspiration and that fire.
And that's the clue, right? That's the clue to everyone's success. Because although we're not striving to be basketball players, I'm going to tell you, despite how I look, I am a horrible basketball player. I've always been a horrible basketball player, but I have stories of organizations I've worked for that have had like these basketball leagues that pushed me to join them, and I'm horrible. But having said that, right, this is about life. In the game of life, at a certain point, you get to decide what type of player you're gonna be. And that's really the clues of success, making that decision, right? Would you agree with that?
I agree. It's all about getting to the point where you've got that fire, whatever that is. And today, right, it's really easy to do the opposite of that, because that's really hard to do. I want to be the best at this. You're putting yourself out there and going, and you're ultimately exposing yourself to all of this risk and all of this ridicule. And I may have to work myself out of the pack. The pack that I know right now might be a different pack than where I'm going to be in a few years. It's scary stuff, especially right in your high school years.
Correct.
Where ultimately conforming and being just like everybody else is super important. But you also mentioned before that we're talking to maybe our audience, and the people that we're hoping to reach the most might be the parents of these high school kids. They might be those people that are in their late 30s, early 40s, right, that are kind of having some similar struggles. And they've kind of like settled in and just like, hey, I'm accepting mediocrity. So maybe there's a piece of this story for them as well.
So let's think about it. I'll tell you a story of me in elementary. Young football player, and I played football, right? And I was pretty good at that, but not Michael Jordan good, but pretty good. So I had started playing football, and I was 8 years old, and I was supposed to have been 9. So they sort of made this. My mother sort of maneuvered this fake birth certificate so I can start. Now those kids were all 10. So they're faster, they're hungrier, they're running, and we're running, and I hated running to the point that I was so far back from those kids, so far back that when I finally got to and we started our drills, it was my turn in the drill, which I lost, and I had to go back run again, right? So running. So my grandmother, I complained to my grandmother, and she says, well, here's the deal. If you are the last one, and when you get there, you're exhausted. So you got to get there and have time to rest, right? So you have to run faster. Now, if you're going to run faster, you have to train to run faster. So every morning at 7 o'clock, we got up and she had me running up and down the street, which was crazy. This 8-year-old running up and down the street. But this is what happened. So I'm the last runner. So I'm running and running and running. I catch up to the next last runner. Now, when I look at that runner, this is what crossed my mind. I don't belong here. See ya. Then I get to the end of the pack and I'm running with them. And I'm like, I don't belong here. Then I'm in the middle of the pack and I'm looking at them going, I don't belong here. So then all of a sudden I get to the lead pack and I say, oh, now. So then after a few weeks of running the lead pack, I decided that I was going to make them chase me, right? And from that point on, from 8 to 18, every time we ran in football, I was always in the lead, right? Now, that's what we're talking about, right? That decision. And then you got to do what it takes to make it happen. Now, as a parent, and when we get in our 30s and 40s, we have to get and reassess our lives and ask the question, am I where I want to be, right? Is this what I thought my life would be like? And if the answer is no, then we have to look at it and begin to go back and look and say, how do we follow the clues to success?
And I think that's where we wanted to kind of wrap up this segment to a certain extent, which was to kick around a couple of different things that somebody might be able to do in helping them find those clues, right? So do you have a decent place for us to start?
Well, today we started with Jordan.
We did.
Right?
Yeah.
And, I make a suggestion that maybe we ask people to just do that. Not start with Jordan, but to find someone that they would connect to, right? Find a person that select your dynasty person to study and that will find clues for your success. And that could be in any field, in anything.
So we'd like to wrap this segment and with every segment with an action item for ourselves to take away, but also for the rest of the audience. Because we know for this thing to actually have some meat, to actually make it work, to propel people forward, there's got to be some traction, there's got to be some execution. So our call to action for the audience, for ourselves and our audience, is to really think hard about who you admire, who you would like to study as your dynasty person. Maybe it's Michael Jordan. Maybe it's somebody like Tom Brady. Maybe it's somebody that isn't a professional athlete. It's a professional business person or a professional musician or artist or just somebody that you look up to, like your grandmother. So, and Willie, would you like to add anything on top of that?
No, I think that's it, right?
All right.
Because the lessons that they have learned, the clues that they have left, let's find them so that we can be successful and live our life dynasty.
The life dynasty is going to start with you choosing the person that you want to study and then ultimately doing just a little bit of work down that path, right? Just like Willie and I did in looking into Michael Jordan, you need to do the same thing with this person that you're choosing to study for your role model for your life dynasty.
Throughout life, there will be ups and downs, good times and bad times. You are listening to us because we're going to show you how to create your life dynasty.
See you next time.
See you next time.